What's going on, everybody? Happy Monday. Welcome back to the Truck Parking Clubhouse. I'm your guy, Michael Lombard, at Lombard Trucking everywhere on the internet. It is officially Max Week, the Mid-America Truck Show. And if you haven't been following along on YouTube, it doesn't officially have a name yet, but we got Timothy the cab over because it's Tiny Trucker Tim, like in our logo, like you see right behind me here. Actually, the location count's covering it, but that's where it is. We got him. They're moving all the way to Louisville to get ready for the Mid-America Truck Show this week. If you're going out to Mid-America, drop us a line. Let us know where you're going to be at. Our booth, we're going to be right next to Cummins 37. I'm going to give you I'll get the booth number by the end of the show. I don't have it in front of me. But either way, we're going to be there. And 31 minutes ago, tail lights just dropped in your inbox. Little bit of a spoiler alert. So the state of Georgia has suspended its fuel tax, its state's fuel tax for the next 60 days to help curb some of those rising fuel costs. Got a crazy story of a drug bust out in Oklahoma. We got a survey in there. Speaking of truck shows, survey about truck shows, partner code, great health tip as the weather starts getting warmer. A whole jam-packed bunch of info. So check your inbox, drop in the taillights. Go ahead, check it out. Got partner codes in there for you, especially if you need parking. But without any further delay, let's roll right into the clubhouse. We're talking to my good friend, the Moose himself. What's going on, brother?
Oh, I'm just parked up, having a great night, doing my thing. What's going on? What's new in the world?
Hey, man, we're excited for Matt's this week. Where are you at right now over the road?
Well, I am. I'm parked up right now. I got to work. I can't make mats, but I'm parked up at Haw River. Anybody knows that? 8540 join there in North Carolina. Giant Flying J with almost 250 parking spaces. I think. So yeah, got lucky. Got here good and early. And oddly enough, man, to promote the brand, man, the Truck Parking Club. I've been sitting here since I don't know, about 3 o'clock this afternoon. I actually had a company driver go ahead and back into me from the other side.
No way.
Gave me a little love bump.
What's the assessment? Any damage? You good?
No, all is right in the world. Nothing, no damage. But these are the things you run into over the road.
Yeah, we just had the Corvette couple on last week, and that's I think they've gone through a couple hoods at this point. They've mentioned, and luckily they're company drivers themselves. But
yeah,
still, yeah, those are the things you run into sometimes. That's the secondary risk you take when you're at some of these other places to park. But I'm glad the damage is all right. You're safe. Nothing happened. Nothing's going to keep you from working.
No, not at all. No out of service, any silliness like that. Just a parking. It's a good thing we put all this rubber on the back of these trailers. But like I said, this is just one thing you run into. Had I been at any of the locations that I've parked at for Truck Parking Club, I wouldn't have had any of this issue. So, heck, I just recently bought a monthly at my home, and love it, man. Gated access, restroom, trash, all that fun stuff. 10 minutes from the house, park my car there during the week, home every weekend. That's I'm a regional guy. So, it works out for me. It does well.
Let's go. I'm glad you got hooked up with a nice monthly spot right by you. I was just talking to a gentleman, another one of our partners who's same kind of thing. Is just as we've gotten properties and as he's found a new employer, somebody else he knows is somebody near his house who has developed some land worthy for some truck parking. And to anybody watching live, again, if that's you, if you know any property owners, again, we're always looking to add more truck parking locations. But before we dive into some more parking stuff, we got to know, how did the Moose get into trucking himself?
Well, I stumbled into tow trucking a while back and ended up doing a bunch of heavy tow. And yeah, that's one thing led to another. My wife had me move back into the city, and I found out that the price of tow trucking out in the city is like a third of what it used to be out in the mountains where I used to live. And I'm not risking my life out there on the shoulder. So here we are doing OTR.
Let's go. So what were you doing before you got your CDL?
I was tow trucking. I was doing heavy tow in the mountains with 2 DOT officers. I just don't have verifiable experience. So when there's 2 DOT officers for 6 counties and you work them all, you can just go, look, buddy, settle down. The good old boy network is real.
Mm-hmm. No, that's good. So when did you go legit?
I went legit, man. I ain't even had it a year now. We're pretty close to it.
Mhm.
So, company man for now myself, open deck, that kind of fun stuff. I know how to throw a strap or a chain.
Let's
And
go.
yeah, no, I basically used to make my own wiggle wagon by dropping a drive shaft and hooking up to something and, having all that kind of fun stuff. Removing fairings off of Freightliners, towing them backwards, that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So sweet. So we even going to backtrack a little bit more. So before you were
Hmm.
towing, because it's always an interesting journey how people get or wind up behind a wheel. Before, what were you doing before you had gotten to the tow truck?
Um, Man, well, in another life, I was a cable guy for 17 years. And then I just ended up in the mountains. That's where my ex-wife's family's from. And I was going to do some cable out there, but there's a waiting list, like four guys doing it, and you basically had to wait for somebody to die so that you could get a job. So I was like, all right, well, one thing led to another. I met some people through the church there, and I went to work for Old Man Styles, who my goodness, he didn't even have me touch a strap or a chain or a winch cable or anything for about 6 months. It must have been. I just drove him around because he was, 183 years old.
That's awesome. So you navigate your way into the tow truck, and then so coming over the road,
Hmm.
transitioning to it. Like, what was your process getting your CDL? Did you kind of pay your way through school? Kind of how did you? Every now and then on
Yeah.
Instagram we get some newer guys. How did you? What was your pathway into getting the CDL?
Um. Well, yeah. No, we moved to the city, and just trying to make ends meet. I couldn't do the cute little wages they wanted to pay me to tow truck and be a tow baby out there was cute. So I actually paid my way into a driving school, um, and drove one of our little cars around doing an Uber driver thing while I was going through school, and just making ends meet that way. And next thing you know, here we are. And yeah.
And where'd you get your if you're comfortable sharing, where'd you get your first start? Who you rolling with?
Um, well, I work for a company, TMC. Some people call it too much chrome. Some people call it two men cuddling. So
That's a newer one.
TMC, or
Yeah,
the two men cuddling.
yeah. I'm not sure if I've even heard that one yet because no, I mean we've had a couple other TMC drivers up on here
Oh yeah.
before, and TMC. I mean I haven't heard a bad thing. Really haven't heard a lot of bad stuff about them, and everything's going good.
Um,
Everything's going good.
yeah, no, I don't have much complaint. It's a huge fleet as far as I think it's the biggest open deck they've got out there, flatbed, whatever you want to call it. They got 3,300 drivers. It's a ballpark. I'm sure that number's changing on the daily, but you end up with that many drivers, your rates, you got to take quantity over quality. Sometimes I'm struggling to find $3 a mile and it's a gross pay thing because it's company owned. We're not paid by the mile. So I look at what I'm getting paid and how far I'm going, and yeah, it's rare when I get something that's $3 a mile overall. And if you got any owner ops watching, they're probably scratching their head, going, "Wow, that's ridiculous." Because I got some owner op buddies that man, they don't even fire the truck up for less than $8 a mile. You know.
Yeah, I was just on the horn with a friend of mine who's doing some, he does some heavy haul stuff, and
Hmm.
rates have fired up, but kind of like I said at the top of the show, fuel again has decided to crawl
Yep.
up with it, and so it's kind of the better rates are getting kind of slashed out at this point, but only so much you can do. Our boy Josh jumps in. He said, "How many TM see you next Tuesdays you get? Too many see you next Tuesdays." That's for TMC. Too many see you next Tuesdays.
Right.
That's another one he started for TMC. Too many see
Right.
you next Tuesday.
Right. So, what you end up doing, if you're smart enough to get, if you get contracts or however you're doing your load boards or whatever, yeah, man, calculate your fuel. If you can write into a contract, write in a fuel surcharge if it hits X amount of dollars and a percentage and all that fun stuff. Business savvy will get you a long way because nobody wants to work for peanuts.
Absolutely. For on your end, when it comes to hauling freight, you said you got a good regional gig set up. What's your week to week look like?
Week to week, I'm usually out the door Sunday between like 2:30, 4 o'clock. They kind of complain about that. Believe it or not, I'm a good Christian boy that goes to church, and I can't get out of the house until 2:30 on a Sunday. Um, I actually teach the high school kids every other weekend. So anyway, and then I'm usually home about the same time on Fridays. And then home time. I mean, it varies. I've been home as early as 11 a.m. I've been late. I've been at home as late as I don't know, 8 or 9 o'clock at night. Just depends on the day and what happens. So
Mhm.
now it was 10 o'clock once. I had a tire blowout on a trailer once, but whatever.
And like, where are you primarily, like, what lanes kind of you running? What kind of freight you moving?
I move anything from drywall to lumber to I got concrete forms on there right now. Um, a little bit of steel here and there. All the fun stuff you see on an open deck. Sometimes it's tarped, sometimes it's not. No spring chicken anymore. So the white hair is a dead giveaway. I love the exercise with it, getting out and throwing 125-pound tarps and doing all that, get the heart rate up and all that fun stuff. So heck, I've had guys come over and offer to help, and I just go, nah, I'm good. I'd rather get the exercise and work up a good sweat. So,
We're always big fans of that at Team Lombard Trucking, with getting in some good movement. Flatbed gets you to work, gets the blood flowing,
mhm.
gets you on your feet, gets you
Yeah,
sweating a little bit.
yeah, absolutely. Heck, man, I get over my fridge. You'd be amazed at that too. For a fat guy, I'm over here eating nothing but salads. So,
It's good. Yeah, you're on the locked in department. Yeah, when it comes to the stuff you're on, Josh is saying that TMC does move a lot of bulk stuff, so it makes sense. But
mhm.
now speaking of, I mean, trucking in general, you go by Moose Kitchen or just Moose. Where'd the nickname come from?
I'm just a large man, and somebody's just started calling me that. Oh man, I don't know, 20 years ago, and it just stuck. Um, and I don't know, I've just kind of had an affinity for it as well. I'm not taking my shirt off, but I've got a giant moose tattoo on my back, on my shoulder blade. Um,
Yeah,
you know,
You can keep the tarps on.
right, right, right. I don't know. I got bungees, so old man suspenders. That's for the Dunlap. If anybody's got the Dunlap, the belt buckle will cut into your, yeah, you end up with a weird callus. But
Mhm.
the suspenders was the fat guy call. But yeah, no, Moose just kind of stuck. And I mean, even before that, when I was in high school, people started calling me Hoss, if you remember what that's from. The old Bonanza TV show with the guy actor's name was Dan Blocker, but with Lauren Green and Michael Landon, old Western.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, I,
So
I, st- I mean, I still call people Big Hoss.
right. Yeah, I'm 6'2", probably just under 300 pounds. I don't know. I feel okay, so there's no need to stand on a scale.
Hey man, if you feel good, just keep rolling with it.
Right.
Body's
No.
moving, you're trucking, keep the hammer
Hmm.
down.
Absolutely. Why not? All the cool kids were doing it.
Yeah, let's go. Well, I mean, speaking of driving, we kind of mentioned Truck Park Club when we jumped on the stream. But when was the first time you had heard about us, the Truck Park Club?
So I spend a fair amount of time on TikTok. And man, I just started seeing some sponsored ads. And Charlotte loves us, where I live, the Charlotte, North Carolina area. Um, Heck, I got a fleet-wide message about 3 or 4 tows that were about 5 grand a pop, around the Charlotte area. And then we don't park in Charlotte. And then I'm getting these sponsored ads from Truck Parking Club, and I looked into it. Man, there's one 10 minutes from my house. That's where I've got my monthly right now. Great people. It's an old Hudson trailer facility, and there's actually another company in there. It's kind of split use right now, but man, for what it is and what the price is, why not? You know, I got $20 laying around for the night. If I don't have $20 laying around, I got bigger problems. You know what I mean?
That's a good way to put it. And especially
Right.
a place like Charlotte. North Carolina is tough. We've covered it in the newsletter a bunch. I mean, there's $5,000 bills. Even a friend of mine in Chicago, that
Hmm.
he had a box truck that had to get towed maybe less than a mile, and they're trying to whack him $2,800. I mean,
Hmm.
it's gotten ridiculous with it.
Yeah.
it's quite little highway robbery.
It can be. When I was doing it out in the mountains of North Carolina, um, in fact, where I was at, if you know where I-40 goes into Tennessee, and they shut that down after Helene there for a minute, the hurricane, um, where they routed everybody, that's where I used to live. Down this crazy 4-lane road that went through a gorge where it became a 2-lane and then finally opened up into a 4-lane again. I was $7.50 an hour with a 3-hour minimum.
Man, when you were towing, 750 an
Yeah,
hour, 3-hour minimum.
you could have been across the street if we didn't know you from Adam. You know that'd be 22.50, sir.
Oof, I gotta know.
Right.
We're, I feel like, I don't know, there's always talks in the government. And I mean, anybody else, I mean, if you're watching this live, dropping any
Hmm.
crazy tow bills that you've seen for it. But I don't know. I mean, do you still keep in touch with anybody from the tow industry? You think any sort of regulation is coming on that soon?
Well, North Carolina's done some things recently. As of December of 25, there's actually a commercial vehicle obstruction law that's gone into place. There's no more booting, and it's recently been perceived. However, lawyers have gotten involved, and some of the DAs and what have you. Obstruction. It's an obstruction law. You cannot block tow or basically do an unauthorized tow on a commercial vehicle anymore in North Carolina. There's no more PPIs, private property impound. So if you're parked up somewhere and they try to tow you, they can't do it. You go find that law and you show it to them. Quick Google search to do it. I think it's an obstruction law on commercial vehicles. They can't even park in front of you to stop you from moving right now.
Oh, well, that's
Throw it
good.
at
At
them.
least,
Throw it at them.
we got some relief. We got some
Yeah.
relief for North Carolina, which I'm pretty sure I might have thrown that in a newsletter a couple months ago when that had happened back in 2025. But things are always changing. Things are always temporary. This, that, workarounds, figure it out. Somebody's still getting towed. But if anybody follows the Instagram account, USA Transportation, they post a lot of great freight humor. The gentleman who runs that page has been very. I mean, he went to he basically declared all out war on towing and around the Charlotte area of getting after it. And yeah, Josh is saying you got to carry the brass flowers if that's happening to you. The brass flowers, love that. Yeah, you got to call him. Keeping it PG for the live stream. Love it.
Right. No, I like it. Yeah, no, I never did any of the predatory towing. You always called me and you got a price before. But yeah, no, this predatory stuff where they're just basically trying to get a couple of bucks out of you, or a week's paycheck or whatever. I mean, come on now. What are we doing here, fellas? That's not right what they're doing, and it needs to stop, the predatory aspect of it. You know, even if I grabbed an old snatch truck or something, the repo special, I wouldn't touch that stuff, man. That's how you get met with a shotgun. No, thank you.
Yeah, I'll never forget. After there was a tow truck driver I met. I worked a small stint at Enterprise Rent a Car, and we had some customers who overstayed their rentals. And I remember, and this one person had a car. It was in New Haven, Connecticut, and it wasn't in the best area, best neighborhood. And I had to go get eyes on the car, like just to make sure that it was still there. And then I called the tow truck driver to come, and here I am, like, with the button down shirt. I'm wearing a freaking bow tie. I look like an absolute goon in like this, it's pretty rough neighborhood. We'll just leave it at that. And I had to wait for this tow truck driver. And it's like, as I was waiting for the tow truck driver to come, there was like an old lady like sweeping her driveway. And there was, and all of a sudden, like people started like opening their windows, looking at me, all this stuff. A couple people came out on their porch. They were just looking, kind of giving me the tough eye. And as soon as I saw the tow truck driver come around the corner, I like peeled off and darted. And then he ended up getting the car back. And then when conversation I had with him, when he came back, I was like, "Hey, how did everything go?" He's like, "Oh, she came out flipping out, wanted to, cussing, doing all this." He's like, "Man, I've been doing this 20 years." He's like, "There's nothing you could throw at me." But I still feel like, yeah, man, that's one of those jobs you wind up on the local news.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a special breed. The tow guys. So I've done my crazy stuff, and had some pretty interesting conversations and some things happen. But again, no, never did any of the predatory stuff. So we stay away from that. I like breathing. So
Likewise, I gotta give a quick shout out to Charles on Instagram, dropping a comment. He's talking about speaking on Wednesday to a group of landowners who want to create truck parking spots. So Charles, I'm not sure who Cody is you're looking for either, but if you need some information or if you'd like to talk about turning your property into truck parking, shoot us a DM on Instagram or on socials. I can get back to you shortly, or you can go to www.truckparkingclub.com/become-property-member. So for those of you guys on Instagram, to Roger, I see your comment, truckparkingclub.com/become-property-member. You can get some information, but shoot us a message and I'll get back to you guys right after the live stream. But all right, kind of get back into the wheel of things. So you got the truck parking club spot in your house. Any other locations you've stayed at recently? I know you're a regional guy, but anything else?
I really haven't. I keep meaning to, but just the way, I'm still pretty new to even truck parking club. I've just, you know what? I just am busy and doing my thing, and I haven't really had the chance. It's coming though. It's coming. I love everything about this. I think it's a great service. If you remember, I actually reached out to you about getting involved.
Mhm.
I love everything about this because you know what? If you're driving, we've all done some pretty creative parking, and you run the risk of, some, predatory towing. You run the risk of getting a boot, getting towed, getting woken up by somebody banging on the door because they can't get past you. You know,
Yeah, I mean,
Again, I got a couple of bucks. Let's park up for the night and just be safe. My safety's worth it.
that's that's like the number one thing. We've been big on ramp parking. We've been talking about on the on ramp, the off ramp parking and safety and towing. And there's plenty of people who talk on social media. I've never
Mhm.
paid for parking. I've done this for 20, 30 years, and like, hey, that's awesome. Like we love it. We love that you've been safe, that you're safe. That's not what we're here for. We're not here to
Right.
we're not here to take that away from anybody. If they've run the gamut, they know it, they got their lane. But every driver's different. Every driver's schedule is different. And again, you just got a little ding in the parking lot. I was just on the
Mhm.
phone with one of our partners too. He's doing a 34-hour reset and he's at a truck stop, and a guy actually pulled in and was asking if he was leaving. And he's like, I'm not leaving. He's like, unfortunately, I'm stuck here until Monday, which was today. This was earlier over the weekend. And then he told the guy, and the guy's like, oh, he had to park for the night, but his delivery was 15 miles away. And one of our partners was just like, hey man, have you downloaded this app yet? And
Yeah.
boom, we had a spot that was 5 minutes from his delivery. Got him set up like on the spot, and he was able to find something, or else he was going to be SOL, wherever he's doing, or he's going to be parked someplace he shouldn't have, and rather be there. And he ended up using a promo code, spent $5, boom, safe, all taken care of.
Right. Right. Yeah. And again, if you don't have $5, you got bigger problems. Um, Seriously, you scroll around, just run a quick search on your reels, on your Instagram videos, on TikTok, wherever, whatever social media app you can find, you will find a promo code to save you $20, right? And most of the places that I've seen, it's you can find them, but it's rare to find something over $20 to park for the night. You know,
Mhm.
um, so goodness, use it. Why not? Check it out. And if you've been parking up without having any issues for however many years, your whole career, great. But you know what? Like every industry out there, it's changing. It's always changing. And this appears to be the way it's going is pay to park, unfortunately. So you might as well get into it and be safe with it before something unfortunate happens. You get bumped into, somebody takes out your hood trying to pull out because they forgot they're 70 feet long. God forbid you end up getting towed because you're in a grocery store a parking lot, or a Walmart that doesn't like you, or a Lowe's or something, or you're behind, whatever, just somewhere you're not supposed to be, and you didn't say you couldn't park there. But lo and behold, there was a cute little sign there that you didn't see. It was about, like a postcard hanging out somewhere. And there it is. There's the number you call for getting towed.
There it is. Well said. So besides parking is my next question for you. So, parking is our
Mhm.
main mission. We hate we hate the truck parking crisis. We hate ramp parking. Besides parking in your eyes, what's your number one issue kind of facing the industry? I know you're on the towing side for a while, but yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
you still met and talked to drivers, and I think at a wheel, say you've been out here for a year now doing flatbed. What do you think is one of the biggest issues besides parking that's kind of going on that you could fix right now if you could?
It's kind of a two-part, really. It's driver pay and the brokerage fees. There are brokers out here that are absolutely criminally stealing from drivers. That should be capped at like 5%. You know, um, and then you get these guys that are getting paid what 45 cents a mile. Yikes! I mean, I understand somebody else owns the truck, carries the insurance, and books all the freight for you, but man, 45 cents a mile. What are you doing? 600 miles a day, 5 days a week, five and a half. Good lord, that's $1,500 if you're lucky.
So
That ain't right.
yeah. So
That's
kind of all encompassing driver pay.
Yeah, driver pay, and I mean the industry's kind of lost something with some of the bigger companies and some of the hiring practices, basically just checking for a pulse, it seems. Um, you know, a lot of guys will say, the second we came to started getting the automatics everywhere, you know, how many of y'all know how to double clutch or float gears? You know, obviously, you know, um, I'm in an automatic now. I'm not happy with it, but I've never seen an automatic tow truck.
Yeah, I don't think you probably don't want to tow with an automatic tow truck.
No, probably not, especially in the mountains. There's much more control. You know, it's a lot simpler to be coming down a hill in seventh gear than it is to be just trying to ride an exhaust brake. So,
Yeah, yeah, dealing with that, and I feel like it's tougher. It's tougher on engines. It's tougher on equipment.
mhm.
But Josh brings up a good point. He says, the driver pay at those companies. He does say nobody forces them to work for those companies. But I do gotta say, little comment on that. Josh, check out Taillights. Got a link. There's a new
Mhm.
book. Our good friend Gord McGill wrote a book called "End of the Road," and it's about a lot of stuff going on in the trucking industry. Well researched data points, and it kind of talks about like how like the for in mass how drivers get into the industry and how they get in, kind of the funnel in through the door is what kind of, and some wage arbitrage is what kind of leads to people working for those companies, and they end up either washing out or they don't stick around long enough to end up getting the better jobs. But good, I mean, driver pay, Moose, you're kind of right on the money because according to American Transportation Research Institute, it's there. Driver pay is still the number one driver concern and has been for the last several years running.
Well, to expand on that, even, yeah, nobody's twisting your arm, holding a gun to your head, saying, "Hey, come work for pennies." But at the same time, somebody who's used to making 10, 15, $20 an hour finds a way to go get their CDL and jump behind the wheel, and they can make $1,000 a week. Um, good for them. But what it does is it ruins the pay for everybody else. It brings that average way down, and we're just slowly but surely chipping away at the better paying jobs out here in the industry, and everybody's just kind of SOL.
100%. Well said. Kind of shifting gears on that a little bit for you. So, I mean,
Mhm.
you've been out here, you've been on these roads, you've been doing some towing, you're doing some flatbed now. If you can give, what is the ultimate moose, the wisdom from the Moose Kitchen right there is the your kitchen wisdom. I'm trying to think of a toy of words based off your nickname, but hit us with some Moose wisdom. Your best advice for any driver, anybody new looking to get into the industry.
Um, I think that apathy is key. Stop caring what anybody else thinks of you in all aspects of life. Everybody started somewhere. You hear companies, they talk about goal and all that fun stuff. Man, you can get out and look 6 times, and if you still hit somebody, you should have goaled at least 7 times. Take your time. turn the CB off when you get to where you're parking and people are screaming at you about hurry up and this and that, and just take your time. Get in there, because you will much rather get a John at for getting out a few times and looking and making sure you're not going to hit anything than you would get that John at for taking off somebody's hood, backing into something, taking out a trailer. Take your time. Everybody started somewhere.
Take your time. 3 words right there. That's some solid advice. I think another something we were told my CDL instructor. He was big on don't rush to failure. Right? Yeah.
Right.
Right. Like that's all you're doing. You're rushing to failure. It's like speeding up to the red light. You're not gonna. You're just gonna get. You're just getting nowhere quicker, so to speak. So good. That's well said, Moose. I want to thank you big time for coming on the show. Number one, first time won't be the last
Yeah.
time. We're gonna swing back in a couple months, a couple weeks, see where you're at there over the road. We're sorry to miss you at Mid America Truck Show this week, but before we sign off, where can the people find you? Follow along with the Moose.
For the most part, I'm a TikTok guy. You can find me on TikTok, same username, Moose Kitchen. Other than that, yeah, I'm gonna leave the rest of them because that's family stuff.
Yeah. No, get up on Trucker Talk. Find Moose Kitchen at Moose Kitchen. Appreciate you guys tuning into the live stream. Again, if you've been hanging out for the last 30 minutes, Moose is an upstanding gentleman driver. He's somebody, I mean, he makes content because he loves informing people on the industry. This is a gentleman who wants to help leave the industry better than he found it, which is exactly why we work with guys like Moose, because at Truck Park Club, we're trying to help leave the industry better than we found it. We help truckers save time and fuel by being able to instantly reserve truck parking nationwide. And again, if you need truck parking tonight or on your way to Mid America Truck Show, you can use the promo code Moose20, all lowercase, for $20 off your next booking. But with that, guys, we will be back. We're going to be live at Matt's. We're going to be live Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at Matt's for a couple hours during the day. So if you're a driver, you're coming to Mid America Truck Show, you want to jump on the live stream, share what your issues are in the industry, anything like that, you come by our booth, let us know, give us a holler. We're going to be there. So we're going to be live all 3 days for a couple hours during the day. We've got the truck that's going to be outside. So 2 booths. We've got 2 new t-shirts for you guys, a lot of great information, and we want to hear from you. We want to hear from you 100%. So we'll see you live here Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and we'll be back here next Monday night, 7:30. But with that, guys, that'll do it for the Clubhouse. Stay safe,